in Revelation, or is this Ray?
No, that's Revelation up there.
No. Are you still teaching it, or is Ray?
Yes, ma'am.
Not what? What's the last thing? Not fire or death? Is that what it says?
No, not final.
Oh, okay.
Not final death.
Okay.
I didn't break it intentionally. Because I mean, the same thing with the DVD or
I haven't got it listened for what you did last Sunday yet.
copy what you came to.
It was messing with the broadband today. Some of the time the phone didn't.
I know, I was trying to make phone calls this afternoon, I couldn't get the calls to go out.
And AT&T come problem too. Because on my cell phone, they send a message that says without it in your area, our techs are working as fast as they can to get it up and running. And they put down that it should be back up by 7 tonight, and then they had another message at 11 o'clock tonight. So I'm thinking, big no. Okay. I don't know what that first 2219 is unless I missed it.
That
The board's
is-
full of stuff.
That is part of it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it goes along with what we've been talking about.
Take it over here now.
A lot of traffic through this.
2219. Yeah.
Yeah, that whole, the whole chapter is a story
Okay.
about stuff that goes on. And that verse is about God using an evil spirit to carry out his judgment against the king.
Okay. All right. I think I got everything down that's up there.
We still watching film? We still watching? What was you saying last week? It was right before Chinese food.
Only till Saturday. He come down for doctor appointments and Thanksgiving. And then my daughter, well, I came with me. How you doing? Okay.
I know, she was gone.
When we beat you up. When we beat you up.
Wednesday night. Last Wednesday night.
Yeah. She doing better?
I know it is like,
See you later. You sit down.
just for this week.
Missed you.
I'm gonna be leaving again Saturday.
Oh,
That's why I have a jacket on, is 'cause it's no, it's not.
Eddie's retarded. Did y'all have locks in?
I carried one when I started,
Smith and Wesson.
but we carried six.
6?
I don't love her too. Highway patrol, almost.
She just had a back.
that's what's going on right there.
You lost?
Yeah. I told I made sweet potatoes. Yeah, I made sweet potatoes and something else called turkey cookie.
Oh, yeah.
They put the turkey in my, I just kept an eye on it, you know, and they're saying, Mom, put the turkey in your oven because you won't be able to cook otherwise. It worked out perfect. It was good.
I just put up that extra dressing.
Want somebody to dressing.
Right. God will put the third.
Good evening, everybody. We got a whole bunch of announcements. And the rain is on the way. They say by midnight it'll be raining all night, and then tomorrow morning, they said, hopefully they know what they're talking about this time. Let's see what we got going on here with announcements. Don Norwood, of course, Mike's father, as you know, was in the hospital for several days due to extremely high blood sugar count. He's doing better and back at his residence. Please do continue to pray for him. Ermagene Henderson had surgery to relieve a pinched nerve in her back on Monday. She has some light pain and cannot bend or lift anything for 8 weeks or drive for 2 weeks. So we need to remember her and Lonnie. Lonnie's going to take up the slack, I guess. He's going to be cooking. But Lonnie's a pretty good cook. He makes really good chicken noodle soup. Tina Davis had a cancer removed from her arm, outpatient on Monday. And please pray for no reoccurrence. Please continue your prayers for Don Birdwell, who has not yet been scheduled for his major surgery coming up on his neck and his back. They want to do both at the same time. And also be in prayer for Rosie. A cancerous lump was found on one breast, and she will soon be seeing a surgeon. Need to pray for her. J.R. Zuniga, nephew of Bill Carter, has now been put under hospice care. Nothing more can be done for him. Please pray for him and the family. He's only 42 years old and has 4 kids. A large group of us will be headed out this Friday for the winter retreat. So please keep them all in your prayers. They will be returning Sunday. Where are they going, Stama? This when they go to Abilene, or is this another trip? Camp Bandina. Oh, that's right. They'll be returning on Sunday. Please continue praying for any ill we're unaware of, and our shut-ins, and our missionaries, and our government, and our military, and leaders of this country, which is our government. they're supposed to uphold the government. We need to pray for that. The winter retreat is here. Some will be taking their own vehicles and leaving when it is best for them. If you are riding in the van or want to caravan, please be at the church by or before 5:15 this Friday, as the van is leaving promptly at 5:30. Do not pack any more than necessary due to limited space. You will be stopping to eat on the way up and again on the way home Sunday, so bring money for that. Also, as everyone knows, there will be a parade winding through this town this Saturday, the Mary on Main, December 2nd. We'll have the fellowship hall open that evening, and we'll offer hot cocoa to people that are watching the parade or just passing our way. We're asking for help, volunteers in the kitchen, and for donations, a hot cocoa mix if you can, or cookies or sandwich bags. You can start bringing all the items at any time and put them in the kitchen. Thank you, and please bring and help out if you can. The fellowship hall will be open by 5 o'clock that Saturday. So the parade's on Saturday night or Friday night? Oh, it's Saturday night. Okay. Yeah, that's right, because Friday's the 1st. Wow. Can y'all believe December 1st is Friday? This is crazy. Okay, in your bulletin, please read about many other opportunities there are to be involved in loving, caring for, and sharing with others. Gift cards, canned goods for children's homes, Christmas goodie bags. There are tubs in the hallway for collecting these items. Stama will be glad to purchase the gift cards for the children of the Arms of Hope. And also they need, Sunny Glen needs refried beans, if you can help out with that. All the deadlines are just a matter of days away. Excuse me. The adult Christmas party is on Saturday, December 9th, 6 o'clock here in the fellowship hall. There are several sign-up sheets in the hallway. One sheet is for names of anyone who is attending. One of those needing are the babysitters, volunteers sheets for teens who will babysit, those who will help with the food, those who will help with the entertainment, those who will help decorating, and a sheet to sign up for the Christmas dessert recipe exchange. There will also be a gift exchange, a kitchen or garage tool. Please limit maximum of $20, and don't forget there will be an ugly sweater contest. My goodness, they're going all out this year. Do what? Oh, that'll be fine. Just to see you wear Aggie shirt, you better do it. Okay, so that's on December 9th at 6 p.m. The all-youth Christmas party is scheduled for the youth. It'll be Sunday, December 17th from 3 to 5 p.m. in the fellowship hall. Please see all of the sign-up sheets concerning this on the youth bulletin board. Kaylee Webb, daughter of Riley and Jennifer Webb, is going to Africa on a mission trip with the Aggies for Christ in January. She's asking for prayers for the trip and also financial support. She wrote a letter, and you'll find copies in different areas throughout the church. I think there's some back there on that table, Stama. Let's see. It explains how you can donate through the Aggies for Christ. You can also write a check to the church here if you'd like to help out, and we'll see that it gets to the proper place. Deadline is the end of December, December 31st. So let's have a prayer as we begin for all our sick. Father in heaven, we thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight, to sing songs of praise to you, Father, to study your word. And Almighty God, we just thank you for each and every day you let us live and all the blessings that you provide. And we don't say thank you enough, Father. And we just want to tell you thank you for taking care of us, and thank you for our health. And we do have some that are needing your prayers. And thank you that Mike Norwood's dad, Don, is getting better. Be with Irma Jean Henderson as she recuperates. Be with Tina Davis as she recuperates from her outpatient surgery. And we pray that all the cancer was removed. And be with Don Birdwell as he has upcoming surgery, and Rosie with her upcoming surgery. Father, heal them. Be your will, Father. Be with Bill Carter's nephew, J.R., and comfort him and that family as they go through this difficult time. And be with our kids that are going to the winter retreat this weekend as they drive, and protect them as they drive up there and bring them home safe. So they can encourage each other, Father, to do your will. And just be with us tonight, Father, as we study about your love and how we should love each other with unconditional love. And help us, Father, to do that. And just be with all those that aren't here tonight. We know that if there's even more sick, Father, that we've mentioned, and be with them too. Forgive us, Father, and help us to draw close to you in Jesus' name. Amen. Number 805. I come to the garden alone. I know we didn't mention Wayne and Belva both have COVID, and so they're at home. Of course, there's quarantine for 5 days. If they get mad at me for saying that, I'm sorry. I knew that it's thinking of others, but we need to pray for our sick. So don't get mad. But we may not see them for a few more days. Number 805. I come to the garden alone while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks, and the sound of his voice is so sweet, the birds hush their singing, and the melody that he gave to me within my heart is ringing. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I'd stay in the garden with him, though the night around me be falling, but he bids me go through the voice of woe. His voice to me is calling, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. It's back on. Maybe I pushed the button or something. Okay, we've got like 2 more lessons in our Learning to Love book. We don't have a DVD tonight, but Willard is just such a great storyteller. Mark can attest to that. And tonight he talks about, we're going to need batteries in there. Where's Ron? But concerning our children. And there's so many good stories that he tells. I'm going to read several of them because he's just such a good storyteller. How many batteries did I take, Eddie? Eddie, do you know?
One.
One. No wonder it always messes up. I'll let you fix it because I'll mess it up.
Okay.
So, he's going to review a little bit tonight. I'm going to take about unconditional love, and it's just amazing. A lot of it's just stuff that he learned over the years, and he just put it into words. So it's very helpful. There's a couple of books that he's going to mention that are real helpful with kids, and I'll give you the name, and probably go to Amazon and order. You got it in? Wow, that was fast. I think one of the books is called the 1 minute discipline, something like that for kids. It's a lot of good stuff I wished I'd have known when I was raising kids, because we all messed up or didn't do the right things or were too overbearing, and he talks about that in this lesson. Well, let's read the key verses. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 1 through 4. Ephesians 6, 1 through 4. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and your mother, which is the first commandment with the promise that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on the earth. Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. And he explains that very well here in a minute when we get to it. Colossians chapter 3, verse 20 and 21. Children, obey your parents in everything, for this pleases the Lord. Fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged. Wow. Well, I got to thinking after reading this, we can apply this as grandparents. We still have kids, don't we? That we can use some of his words of wisdom. But let me read a couple of things, and if you have a comment or something, just holler at me or something. But this is really good stuff. A friend told me about how he cut the grass in his backyard. His sons wanted him to play ball, but he needed to cut the grass. He said he pitched the ball, and while the boys hit and fielded the ball, he would make one cut around the backyard. Then he'd pitch the ball again and make another cut. Soon the yard would be cut, and the boys had fun playing ball. He said the boys won't remember my cutting the grass, but they'll remember my playing ball with them. Harmon Killebrew is one of the all-time great home run hitters in baseball. Mark, do you remember that name? Killebrew? Y'all, but anyway, he's one of the all-time great home run hitters in the game of baseball. And a few years ago, he was inducted to the Baseball's Hall of Fame. During his speech at the ceremony, he told about how his dad used to go out and play ball with him and the other boys all the time when he was growing up. And then he told how one day his mom hollered out the window, "You're killing the grass." His dad hollered back and said, "We ain't raising grass, we're raising boys." So that's and use him again in a minute in another story. Willard says, I love that story because it illustrates so well some of our key principles I want to convey about loving our children. I've discussed the family throughout this book, saying that all the good things we want to do for others should begin in our own homes. But now I want to add a few more brush strokes to the picture of godly parenting that I've been trying to paint. The power of example, he talks about. One principle we can see in Harmon Killebrew's story is the power of example. Isn't it interesting that Killebrew remembered that statement by his father? It says a lot about his dad's priorities, doesn't it? And about what kind of impact his father had on him. My guess would be that with a model like that, Harmon himself is a fine father. There are 3 ways children learn. First by example, second by example, and third by example. The power of example simply cannot be overstated. Albert Schweitzer once asked whether he thought example was the most powerful thing in motivating a person to change. He replied, no, I don't think it's the most powerful thing. I think it's the only thing. A while back, I bought a video cassette camera to record some of those magic moments with the grandkids. But one day, my son and I went out and used it to film ourselves playing golf. This might be what I need to do, Mark. Maybe it'll help if I could see what he did with his swing. When I got back to the house and started watching the tape, I said, hey, my problem is obvious. That's an old man playing golf there. Does that sound like Willard? In a more serious vein, I also said, it's my backswing. Can you see the loop in there? How did I recognize the problem? I had been watching a professional closely for a number of years, and let me flip the page here, sorry. Had the picture of his perfect swing ingrained in my mind's eye. It was my model, and I could immediately recognize the difference between it and my own loopy swing. The power of example. We need to realize that we're models to our children and our grandkids, whether we like it or not. Our example will be positive or negative, or most likely a mixture of the two, but there's no avoiding being an example. Children learn how to be fathers, mothers, workers, friends, and Christians primarily by watching their parents. Our only choice is what kind of example we'll be, and that's a fact we need to bear in mind constantly. It means that the way we parent is the most important factor in determining whether our children will grow up knowing they're loved by God and knowing they can have healthy self-esteem because God gives them worth. So he talks about feeling loved and how we can make our kids feel loved. And of course, Jesus is our perfect model example. So feeling love, this leads to a second principle we can see illustrated in Killebrew's story, which is that it's vital for children to feel loved. From the description of his father's words and actions, it's obvious Killebrew knew he was loved. He felt that love from an early age. Unfortunately, not all kids have that assurance. In fact, it's my conviction that most children do not feel loved by mom and dad, especially dad. Why do so many children run away from home? Most of them feel home is the place where they're not wanted or loved. At the same time, I'm sure that most parents do love their children very much, including those including those whose children run away. Ironic, isn't it? How can it be that the parents love their kids, but the kids don't feel loved? Simply said, being loved and feeling loved aren't the same thing. I've never thought of that. Have y'all? Being loved and feeling loved, feeling that love are not the same thing. There's a big difference between the two. And it really doesn't matter in one sense how much we love our children if they don't feel it. It's sort of like $1 million in the bank, and yet living like a pauper, the money does no good if you do not know it's there for you to use it. Love is the same way. There's a big difference between being loved and feeling love. We have to show our love, don't we? So this brings us back to the subject of the last chapter, and the need to express our love. So many parents, especially fathers, struggle with that because their own parents weren't good at demonstrating their love in obvious ways. Isn't that the truth? We can all remember growing up and some of the things that we went through. The father who talked with me in his van and said he was afraid he was losing his daughter because he just couldn't tell her he loved her is a perfect example in the last chapter we studied about. My own father, Willard says, wasn't very demonstrative either, and I'm sure that's part of why it took me so long as it did to learn to express love to my family. Express love, not just saying it. I think I can understand that. Understanding the difference between being loved and feeling loved also brings us back to the importance of separating our children from their behavior. Okay, I wished I'd have known that when I was raising my son. Discipline is certainly necessary, especially in the early years, and we can hold our children to high standards, but always our focus needs to be on the unacceptable behavior or attitude, followed by an affirmation of our love for them personally. Wow. We just read Ephesians chapter 4. That's what Paul was saying in Ephesians 6:4 when he said, "You fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord." Discipline that comes across as a personal attack makes children mad and resentful and leads to low sense of self-worth we've been talking about. But discipline that includes loving nurture of the child leads to the child feeling that mom and dad and the Lord himself loves him. How many people got licks when they got home after you got licks at school? I did. So I didn't want to come home and get more licks. Mark?
I got licks at home after I got licks at church too.
Oh, wow. Okay, you remember this saying, just wait till I get you home. You just wait till I did not like those words. Did she tell you she loved you after she spanked you? I didn't do that enough. See, that's expressing, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. I heard that a few times. But
I used to tell my children, this hurts my hand more than it hurts. You should have used a ping pong paddle. That's what I got used on me. But anyway, expressing love, that's what he's talking about. I must confess that I was one of the worst offenders as a father, Willard says. So many times my discipline of my children consisted of attacks on them personally. I vividly remember one time when my daughter Elizabeth was a teenager and I came home from work and found her room a mess. Seeing that, I chose to be angry
And when she arrived home a little later, I met her in the front yard and came down on her hard. I attacked her as a person and not the behavior of leaving a messy room. Wow. I think I only whipped Patrick one time growing up. He was a pretty good kid, but I don't remember doing it like a personal attack. I mean, we got home from school and he wanted to go ride his bike. I said, you go do your homework and then you can, you go do your homework, then you can ride the bike. Well, of course, I did a few things, and the next thing I knew, he was outside riding the bike, so I got him in and gave him a couple of licks, and you could just see the fear in their eyes. We can all remember that, but I don't remember telling him that I loved him, and I can agree with Willard. We all live and learn, and maybe we can treat our grandkids better. My son Mark got to share it too. Being a college basketball coach, I had high expectations of my son in sports. I was really tough on him, not knowing enough to separate his person and his behavior when he didn't do as well as I hoped. Another mistake I made was that as a young father, I wouldn't talk about my frustrations and irritations while they were still small. Instead, I'd let them build up, then explode out of proportion over some incident or another. Isn't that the truth? I do that with my grandkids now, and you let little stuff go, and but when that happens, you're bound to act too harshly and to come down on a person rather than keeping focused on behavior. Where it ought to be, the behavior. We love the kid, but we don't love the behavior. So one night, not long ago, I was playing and having a great time with my granddaughter, Amber, Mark's little girl. And Mark watched us for a while. Then he said, Amber, this man you're playing with is not the same man who was my daddy. To which I can only say that I hope he was right. I hope I've grown a great deal since the days when I didn't know how to discipline him. We all went through that, didn't we? And get ready. If you don't have grandkids, you're going to get to raise some more kids when they're at your house. Yes?
I saw a saying that if you raise your kids, you can spoil your grandkids, but if you spoil your kids, you're going to have to raise your grandkids.
Oh, boy, isn't that the truth? Very good point. Yeah, that's right.
And whether I raise mine or not, I can spoil them.
Well, we all do that. And after 3 or 4 days, you're ready for them to go home. I hate to say that. They stayed Thanksgiving with us last Wednesday till Saturday, and oh my goodness, we had such a great time, but I was wore out. Mark, you know what I'm talking about. All of you do. It's do what, Galen? He's got grandkids though.
Our house is still not back in order.
Oh well. And then they want to play football in front of the TV while the game's on, and oh my goodness, 3 of them against me. Wow. But it's fun. But isn't it the truth? So many things we didn't know, but when we get older, maybe our parents, like his son saw him acting the way he's supposed to act. So Willard says, many people in my seminars, after I say some of these things, come up to me afterwards and say they wish they'd have heard this concept 20 or 30 years ago. Yep, that's right. I tell them I wish I had too. I had given anything to have known these principles when my kids were little, and they'd have given more. But we've all got to start where we are right now and do the best we can, and by God's grace we can grow, and our relationships can be made into what we want them to be as we begin to do the right thing. Now, Remember the first couple of chapters in this book, we talked about it's a time to change. So things change when we change. And I'm still trying to get that concept in my head. Doing things right that brings us back to the truth that things change as we change. Our relationships get better as we become better people. Our children respond better as we become better parents. And our kids, they're still our kids. Patrick still asks me questions. Y'all know Jonathan, Terry, they're still your kids. And they still look to you as an example. And our children respond better as we become better parents. A woman in Houston, he says, who heard me speak along these lines, told me her little daughter had been very offensive and strong-willed child. Nobody liked her. Not even she, the mother, liked her. I didn't want to touch her or hug her. It was terrible, she said. But then one day, it dawned on this mother that her daughter wasn't going to volunteer to change and that she was the only one who could make any positive change in the relationship. So she made a conscious, painful decision to make herself love her child, to reach out and hug her child and surround her with love regardless of what she did and how she felt. I wasn't raised like that. I got whipped several times by my grandfather, and I didn't realize I didn't get a hug after we got, that's why it's such a hard thing to get this learning to love, unconditional love. We love the kid, but we don't like their action, and you have to explain that to him as you correct them, and he's getting to that in a minute. At this point in our conversation, the daughter came over to where we were talking, so the mother wisely stopped talking about her, but I was able to observe for a few minutes, and I was struck by what a warm, loving relationship they had. Later, the woman and I spoke briefly, and she said to me, "You can see how much different our relationship is now." She had instinctively, or was it God's grace, understood and applied a number of concepts in this book, hadn't she? So, yes, relationships change when we take the initiative to change. The change isn't always easy and doesn't usually happen overnight. And I can't even guarantee that it will change. I can't even guarantee that the change will always be positive, but I can guarantee that until we're willing to change for the better, our relationships will remain the same or get worse. So that's the whole point of this whole book, Learning to Love, is we have to learn to love and change our lives to be good examples. We have to be the ones that teach our kids, little kids and big kids. Our big kids still look at us too. So here's some goals, parent goals. Let me summarize at this point with some of our goals as parents that are to be, as I understand them. First, we want to instill in our children the truth that God loves them unconditionally. This has a direct application to what we teach through words, of course, but again, our example is far more important in conveying this. Second, we want to teach them that God is for them. He wants only what's best for them. He's not looking to catch them doing something wrong, but a loving Father who wants to bless them and see them lead fulfilled, joyful lives. Once again, our example is the principal teacher. Third, God forgives. He's the God of another chance. And how will our children learn that? You know the answer, by our example. Fourth, we want our children to gain self-esteem by the way we discipline, about which I've said much. We want them to feel, I'm loved. I have worth because I'm made in God's image. I'm too valuable a person to choose to mess up. And then fifth, we want through our discipline for our kids to become self-disciplined. The more they like themselves, the more they like to behave properly, and the more they'll grow to be disciplined adults who do what they need to do when they need to do it without being told and without being watched every time. And we can see that in our kids, our grown kids, how they've grown and matured, and we're so proud of them, right? If we discipline our children for any reason other than to develop their self-esteem and to help them become self-disciplined, it's the wrong reason. Satisfying our own ego or meeting our own needs or winning a battle isn't good enough. Again, Willard says, I confess that I'm urging the opposite of the way I raised my kids for many years, but I learned and I grew, and so can you, he says. Now here's this, golly, we only got a couple more minutes. This is that 1 Minute Parent book. There's a book I have to recommend called The 1 Minute Parent by Spencer Johnson. This book is so good that I'd even buy it before I bought bread in my family. It can be that beneficial to your family. In it, he suggests that a lot of good parenting can happen in little 1 minute segments. For example, his name for that kind of discipline I've been talking about is the 1 minute reprimand. You reprimand the kids' unacceptable behavior, and then you give them a hug and say, I love you. Nothing fancy or long or drawn out, but it's terribly effective. However, the best thing to do, the most powerful way to develop self-discipline is to watch for a child doing something right or nearly right, and give them a 1 minute praise before he gets into objectionable behavior. If we'll look for good intentions and attempts to do the right things, even if the results don't quite work out, we can catch our kids doing something nearly right almost all the time. Then you will take him by the shoulder, look him in the eye, tell him specifically that what he did that you appreciate, and tell him how you feel about it. It's hard to have that kind of positive attitude when we're mad at him, isn't it? See, that's what I'm trying to get through my thick skull. Let's see. Tell them how you feel about it and take a big breath so the praise can sink in a little, and then give them a big hug. A 1 minute praising might go something like this. Mark, come here for a minute. You squat down so you go to his eye level and look at him straight in the eye. Son, I saw you try to tie your sister's shoe for her. That was a very nice thing to do, and it made me very proud of you for being so helpful. And you pause a minute. Let me give you a big hug. Believe me, you'll both love it. I never grew up with that kind of positive reinforcement. That's great, isn't it? That's the way I want to be with my grandkids. Positive. Yes?
I think that since all of us are past that childbearing age, we need to take these things and apply them to our spouses and our people that we come in contact with.
Exactly.
Maybe if you use those same principles.
Yes, that's what he's saying. People you live with, they're going to get better when you get better. You have to change. That's the whole first couple of chapters. Remember we talked about that? If you want a better husband, be a better wife. Vice versa. If you want a better boss, be a better employee, and on. Yeah.
And also, I think that I've heard a good way to look at it too is we're not necessarily doing it for him. We're doing it for God.
And that shows them we're doing it for God.
That's who
Yes.
we're really doing it for.
Yes. But were you disciplined like that when you were growing up? I wasn't. I'm trying to get that concept in my head.
Pretty well tell you one, and that's it.
But it's so fun being with grandkids now, and we can be positive with our grandkids, right? So let's see, where was I? The reason that approach is so powerful is that children have to have attention, as we all do. They want attention, right? And they'll get it any way they can. If they don't get it for doing something positive, they're going to do something negative to get it. They want our attention. That means it's a good idea for us to elevate ourselves to see if we're better at reprimanding or praising. If we're better at reprimanding, we're asking for misbehavior, because our kids will quickly learn that that's the best way to get our attention. Our tendency is to ignore our kids when they're not messing up, but that's just when we should be looking for opportunities for that 1 minute praising and tell them they're doing something good and I like what you're doing. Finally, as 1 minute parents, we want to help our children set simple, brief, personal goals in their behavior. This can begin when they are very young. I'll pick up my toys. I'll put my dirty clothes in the laundry. I'll brush my teeth before I go to bed. When they get a hold of these goals, they will learn a sense of self-direction as well as sense of accomplishment. The pursuit of these goals also provides great opportunity for 1 minute praising. The older kids get, the more challenging goals can become. Of course, the older they get, and the greater their successes and the sense of accomplishment will be. But we start simple and easy when they're young and gradually build from there. When my life is drawing to a close, he says, I'm sure that any money I've made or attention I've gained as a speaker or teacher or coach won't seem important. What will count then is walks I've taken with Bobby, that's his wife, and how I've related to our children, and whatever help I've been to their relationships. And you know, if I can keep my priorities straight, I'll realize that those are also the things that are the most important right now. Don't you agree? Yes, we sure do. A few questions, Brother Bills. Describe ideal mother or father? What do you think is an ideal mother or father? And then he says, Willard Tate summarized parenting goals in 5 statements. Each statement is given below. Put each statement into your own words and give a brief practical example of how you can use that concept. We want to instill in our children the truth that God loves them unconditionally. We want to teach them that God is for them. God forgives. Yes, God forgives us. We want our children to gain self-esteem by the way we discipline. We want our kids, through our discipline, to become self-disciplined themselves. What do you think the saying, catch them doing something right, means? That positive pat on the back that they need, that we all need. Give one example of how you can apply the concept of 1 minute parenting or grandparenting. We can insert grandparenting, but it's really, Willard is such a good speaker. We've got like 2 more lessons, but they're real short, so next week we'll probably combine both of them as he concludes the book. And the lesson next week is robbed by the little things. So thank y'all for being here. And don't leave. Everybody, please don't leave. We have somebody that has a birthday coming up, and we want to sing happy birthday to Chester. Yeah, you better, he's hiding his face under his hat over there. Chester, you're going to be, is it today or tomorrow your birthday? Your birthday's tomorrow? And how old are you going to be? 88. Yes.
Jimmy Dodd over there
Jimmy, when is your birthday?
today.
Oh, happy birthday, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Great. Well, stick around. We got some cake.
79.
Okay, don't leave. I gotta light the candles.